Story title: The Lanterns of Black Hollow. Genre: supernatural horror. Length: 15 full chapters. 25,000 to 30,000 words. Format: one-person narration, with descriptive atmospheric language setting. A fog-covered, abandoned town called Black Hollow. Chapter 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Chapter 3. The Thing in the Wardrobe. The room grew colder the moment Jacob's eyes fixed on the wardrobe. His heartbeat hammered in his ears, drowning out the faint creaking sounds around him. The wardrobe's dark wooden doors trembled unnaturally, as if something alive within was trying to escape. The whispered voice from inside slithered through the thick silence, slow and threatening. "Don't light it." Jacob's hands shook, but curiosity and terror both rooted him to the spot. He forced himself to take a slow step forward, then another. His fingertips grazed the rough wood, and the whispers suddenly stopped, replaced by an oppressive silence that pressed into his chest. He summoned his courage and flung the wardrobe doors open. Inside was a darkness so dense it seemed to pull the light from the room itself. At the bottom of that blackness, two glowing green eyes blinked open, reflecting the faint lantern light like embers. They stared at Jacob with ancient hunger, unblinking and piercing. Suddenly, a figure, a twisted, gaunt shape with tangled hair and ragged clothing, lunged forward. Jacob stumbled back, heart thudding, tripping over the edge of the bed. The figure paused, emitting a guttural, almost human scream that echoed in the small room. Then, just as suddenly, it vanished. Jacob sat on the floor, gasping for breath. His skin crawled as a chilling realization sank in. The inn was not merely a building, but a prison for something terrible, something that knew his name. His eyes darted back to the medallion on the door, still twitching slightly, as if warning him. He whispered to himself, voice trembling, "What is this place? And why am I here?" Chapter 4. Echoes from the Eye. Ziller? The sky outside had faded to an angry shade of purple when Jacob finally forced himself from the room. The air inside the inn thickened with damp, cold silence. The creaking floorboards beneath his boots seemed to moan under the weight of unseen memories. He wandered toward a shadowed corner of the lobby, where a narrow door leaned half open, revealing a stairwell spiraling downwards into darkness. The walls near the cellar entrance were cold to the touch, coated with creeping moss and strange symbols etched into the wood. Jacob's pulse quickened. The cellar was whispered about in village legends, an abyss beneath the inn where light did not dare to enter. He pulled out a small flashlight from his pocket, its beam flickering weakly but desperately in the suffocating dark. Step by step, he descended, each creak magnified by the cavernous void beneath. The air grew heavier, thick with the stench of damp earth, rotting wood, and something fouler, something ancient. Halfway down, Jacob noticed scratches carved deep into the stone walls. The runes glowed faintly green, pulsing with an otherworldly light that seemed to breathe. His flashlight flickered and died, plunging him into total darkness. Then came the sound, a wet scraping noise from the far corner, the kind of noise that made your skin crawl. Something large was moving. Jacob's breath caught in his throat. He fumbled for his matches, hands slick with sweat. A whisper from the darkness whispered back, "You shouldn't be here." Suddenly, icy fingers brushed against his ankle. He screamed. Chapter 5. Whispers in the walls. Jacob's scream echoed off the damp stone, but the cellar swallowed it greedily. He scrambled back toward the stairs, heart pounding like a war drum. The voices began, soft, chilling, hundreds of voices whispering secrets of madness and despair. They came from everywhere and nowhere, echoing through the thick walls. The stones beneath his feet pulsed rhythmically, as if the inn's heart was alive and beating. A cold, unnatural breeze wound its way around him, carrying with it the faint scent of decay and burnt candles. Shadows danced just beyond the edge of his flashlight beam. Suddenly, the walls themselves seemed to breathe. The ancient runes pulsed brighter, casting eerie green light that revealed long-forgotten faces pressed into the stone, faces twisted. In agony, mouths open in silent screams. Jacob's skin prickled with terror as a voice hissed directly into his ear, ice cold and breathless. "You cannot leave. Not now. Not ever." He spun around, but there was no one. Just the whispering. Just the walls. His flashlight flickered back to life, illuminating a narrow passage he hadn't noticed before, just wide enough for a man to slip through. From within that passage, a faint green glow pulsed softly. Jacob swallowed hard. There was no turning back. Chapter 6. The locked room. Jacob's legs trembled as he approached the far end of the dimly lit corridor. The inn's oppressive silence was broken only by the slow drip of water echoing from somewhere deep within the walls. There, at the very end, stood a door unlike any other he had seen. Heavy oak, blackened with age, with rusty iron bars across, a small barred window near the top. The door bore no handle, only a large iron keyhole, worn smooth from years of use. A chill ran down Jacob's spine as he noticed the scratches etched around the frame, marks made by desperate fingernails, deep and frantic. He pressed his ear to the cold wood and heard faint sobbing, muffled but unmistakably human. Fear battled with curiosity in his mind. What lay behind this door? What horrors were locked away from the rest of the inn? Suddenly, the sobbing stopped. A heavy silence fell, and then, a slow, rasping breath close enough to make Jacob's skin crawl. He stepped back, heart racing. But the door creaked open a crack on its own. Inside, the room was small and bare, lit only by a faint greenish glow emanating from the walls themselves. The air was thick with dampness and the scent of old, rotting wood. In the center lay a tattered journal, its pages yellowed and brittle. Jacob reached out and opened it. The handwriting was frantic, scrawled in faded ink. "They came for me in the night. The shadows that crawl beneath the floorboards. They want to drag me into the darkness forever." Suddenly, a whisper hissed from the shadows. "You cannot save them. No one escapes." Jacob slammed the journal shut, the room spinning around. The locked room was no prison. It was a trap. Chapter 7. The portrait's eyes back in the main hallway. Jacob's nerves were raw. His mind replayed the haunted sobbing, the whispered threats and the journal's cryptic warnings. His eyes were drawn to the wall opposite the locked door, lined with old portraits, their cracked glass frames coated in dust and cobwebs. At first glance, they were just paintings of past innkeepers and guests. But as Jacob's gaze lingered, something felt wrong. The eyes in the portraits seemed to shift, narrowing, watching, judging. He took a tentative step forward. Suddenly, a chill swept through the hallway. The portrait's eyes glowed faintly green, and Jacob realized with a jolt, the faces were alive. One by one, the painted lips moved silently, mouthing warnings, curses, pleas. The oldest portrait, a gaunt man with hollow eyes and a crooked smile, suddenly whispered in a dry, cracked voice, "Leave now, before the house claims your soul." Jacob stumbled back, heart pounding. He felt invisible fingers brush his skin, cold and clammy. The portraits seemed to lean forward in their frames, their painted eyes full of malevolent hunger. With a strangled cry, Jacob tore himself away and ran down the hall, the whispers chasing him like shadows. Behind him, the portrait's eyes remained open, watching, waiting for their next victim. Chapter 8. The whispering staircase. Jacob's breath came in ragged gasps as he fled the haunted hallway, the eerie glow of the portraits still burning in his mind. But his escape was short-lived. At the end of the corridor loomed a spiral staircase, descending into darkness so thick it swallowed the weak light from his trembling flashlight. The wooden steps groaned under his weight, each creak echoing like a scream in the stillness. The air grew colder, heavier, as if the staircase itself was alive, breathing slowly and patiently, waiting for him to descend. Whispers began again, soft at first, like leaves rustling in a distant wind. Then growing louder, more urgent, filled with desperation and menace. They seemed to come from the very walls, twisting around his ears, urging him downward. "Come. Come. Come." Step by step, Jacob felt invisible hands clawing at his ankles, pulling him deeper into the abyss. His flashlight flickered wildly, casting dancing shadows that twisted into terrible shapes. Halfway down, he saw them, faint outlines of figures pressed against the stone walls, faces distorted in silent screams, eyes hollow, hands reaching out as if begging for release. A sudden sharp pain shot through Jacob's chest as the whispers became a howl, drowning out his own terrified heartbeat. He stumbled, nearly falling, but managed to steady himself just as a low, guttural growl echoed from below. At the staircase's bottom, a faint green glow pulsed rhythmically. Jacob's skin prickled with the same dread he had felt before. This was the heart of the inn's darkness. Summoning every ounce of courage, he took the final step and plunged into the unknown. The remaining chapters will be videoed later.